Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
It's $1,000.
We tried to fight it. We didn't understand why, but by then we told him, okay, fine, we're not going to stay here. We're just going to go home. He said it doesn't matter. It's non-refundable. Your credit card that you booked with is going to be charged the full amount, whether you stay or not.
Well, folks, it's been about a week now since those new and not so improved quarantine hotels went into operation thanks to the latest Justin Trudeau order in council. And what have we witnessed? Well, how about a 1-800 quarantine hotel hotline that simply does not work? How about surly service? How about grotesque food that not even a dog would eat? And then, of course, there's the substandard accommodations, the outrageous accommodation bills. And joining me now is Christina Texera. Christina and her daughter and her brother recently flew to Portugal, but this was no pleasure trip, folks. Quite the opposite. Unfortunately, Christina's father had passed away, and she and her family members traveled overseas to arrange the funeral. It was indeed an essential trip. But when Christina and family returned to Toronto, they didn't receive any compassion. Rather, aggravation was the order of the day. Christina, you are now at home in Bowmanville, Ontario, I understand, where you remain in quarantine. But when we spoke at length off camera, I couldn't believe your story. Let's pick it up when you and your brother and your daughter touched down at Pearson. How did your personal quarantine hotel fiasco begin?
So because we didn't have a hotel booked, we weren't able to get through the lines. We tried numerous times throughout many days while we were away, while we were trying to, deal with my father's death and all that around it. We landed, we followed the line to the one room where they have the public health officials there giving us instruction as to who to call. So we had told them that we were under compassionate reasons, that we had filled out the forms, which were not the right forms because those forms were for non-Canadian residents that were attending a funeral here. Those same forms did not apply to us, so we could not use it as a compassionate reason. They gave us a number after, basically discussing and arguing with them, but being very respectful with them at the same time. We understand that they're just doing their job. They gave us a phone number that took us directly to the Crown Plaza Hotel because none of the other numbers would work and there were many hotels that were already fully booked. We contacted the Crown Plaza Hotel where they told us that we had to book a minimum of 3 nights, and it was confirmed by the public health official that was there. We had to book 3 nights, and we were given a price of $369 per night. So, of course, under duress, we had no choice because we were trying to just go home, directly home. All we wanted was to avoid going to the hotel and just to follow our quarantine plan as we had put on the ArriveCan app. We were even willing to do the 3rd COVID test in the last 10 days, but we couldn't bypass this area before we get to the COVID test unless we called and booked the 3 days. So we booked it. The 3 days with Crown Plaza Hotel, the official was there. She listened very carefully that we actually had in fact booked it because she wanted to make sure that we weren't just leaving. When we did ask about, what if we didn't do the quarantine in the hotel? What if we just went home? What would the fine be? We were told $3,700 to $750,000 a person.
Wow. So in other words, Christina, the government representatives there, they're basically saying you break the rules, maybe we're going to take your house with that $750,000 fine. And I believe, or here's the bonus plan, 6 months in jail too, right?
And they did, and they couldn't tell me exactly. They couldn't tell us exactly. Anywhere from $3,700 to $750,000. That's a big range. So we ended up going after that. We got our COVID tests. We went and waited. We were told to wait for the shuttle to come and pick us up in a common area. There was a couple of other people there because by this time it was after midnight. We waited for an hour and a half. No shuttle showed up. Finally, after 5 calls, they said the security guard manager came over and said, drive your own car, take a cab, or because the shuttle isn't coming. So we grabbed a cab, went to the hotel. At check-in, this is where, the news hit us hard. Check-in, the guy said, the person checking us in said, oh no, it's going to be over $700 a night. Because it's the quarantine pricing, plus there was extra people. It was something like $200 per extra person because of the food and the fact that it was a quarantine room, et cetera, et cetera. We tried to fight it. We didn't understand why. But by then we told him, okay, fine, we're not going to stay here. We're just going to go home. He said, it doesn't matter. It's non-refundable. Your credit card that you booked with is going to be charged the full amount, whether you stay or not.
This is completely under duress. Like it's just beyond.
Okay, so
You don't make policy, ma'am. It's whatever the government.
yeah. Okay, so explain to me again how the process works.
So,
So the government forces me to work with your hotel.
it's 390. You're going to You can stay in the room.
Okay, it's $319 per person.
Yes.
Are you good?
That will be taxed. If you're
So
adult,
it's $1,000. All right, and I have to.
How in the world does the price of the hotel from the point you book it at the airport go from $369 at Pearson, and then a 6 or 7 minute drive away, it suddenly goes to $750? And they said because of the quarantine service, but I understand the service you're getting at these hotels, not just you, but from what we hear from so many other people, my colleague Kian Bexty, he's in a quarantine facility in Calgary. This is not the Four Seasons. It's a pretty bad experience. So they've about doubled your price for the room rates. Can you tell us something? What was it like in terms of the food quality that you were receiving?
Well, they handed us a bag because we finally said, fine, we'll go and get some rest. It was past 1:30 in the morning. They gave us a plastic bag with 3 pre-packaged veggie sandwiches. That's all they had left, and 3 bottles of water. Nothing else. No information about whether we can move around, where we can come down, nothing. We literally went by ourselves upstairs to a regular room. It's the same room that anybody off the street would get. The plastic stuff on the walls and on the floors and in the rooms that you see on TV, we didn't see it. It was a regular room. It was a nice room. It was a decent room. It's a regular hotel room as anybody else would get. So we went to our room and that's what we got. The next morning, we had to call down and say, what time is breakfast? Oh, they'll serve it or leave it at our door between 8 and 10. We got it at 9:45. It was literally maybe a scoop of, I think it was scrambled eggs, 2 pieces of bread. It wasn't even toasted, an apple, a bottle of water, and maybe 5 or 6 hash browns, or a small amount of hash browns. And that's what we got. The coffee was in the room, those single serve coffee maker things that they have there. That's what it was. My daughter, who is a vegetarian, got, because she had told them, whenever you're bringing up breakfast, I don't have meat in case there was like bacon or anything. No such thing. Hers was literally slop. It looked like
I've heard that term used, Christina, slop, especially if you have any kind of meal restrictions, vegetarian, vegan, religious considerations. You're really going to get the short end of the stick. So you're there for one night. You're supposed to be there for 3 nights, but you didn't spend another 2 nights there, did you?
No, we got our results back by 2 p.m. that same day, which was Sunday. So remember, we checked in Sunday at 1:30 in the morning. By 2 in the afternoon, we got our results. We called down. We said, we got our negative results. We're leaving. We'd like to settle our account because we're not staying here for the rest of the nights. And they said, too bad. First of all, they didn't know that we were even allowed to check out. Okay, so they don't have the information. So they said, too bad, you can't. So my brother said, I want to talk to your manager. And they said, well, she's not available right now. So he left the room. He went downstairs, where in the lobby must have been about 40 people. Maybe it was either an Indian airline or Sri Lankan, not sure. But the lobby was jam-packed full of people trying to book their rooms at the same time. So he left. He said, let's just get our stuff. My husband was waiting for us outside to pick us up, and we left. We called in and we said, we've left the room. We're not going to be there for the next couple nights. Don't bother serving any more food, because the lunch, by the way, we did get lunch. Lunch was a sandwich and some macaroni salad, cold macaroni salad, and a bottle of water. So it wasn't, $300 or $700 worth of food. We're not getting gold dusted surf and turf. It was literally the very basics.
And Christina, just so I understand completely, the hotel was telling you that even though you spent one night, you're on the hook for 3 nights?
Yes. And we got the bill. We've got the bill.
Well, I'm not in a position to advise you, but I can tell you if that happened to me, I'm on the phone to customer service of my credit card so fast saying this is fraud. That's what it is. And you also said to me when we spoke off camera, your daughter made a recording on her phone just to prove what kind of hellacious treatment you were going through, and some security guard forced her to delete it? What's the deal with that?
Actually, it wasn't a security guard. When we got to she had been filming clips of it, and she has filmed quite a bit. She's actually compiled a short video of our experience. And when we got to the registration for the COVID test, there was a young man, was filming it, and he said, you need to delete that. And you're not allowed to have that recorded. She said, I can record whatever I want. He said, no, I'll call security if you don't delete it. So she said, fine. She deleted. He said, I want to see your trash to make sure that, like the trash bin, to make sure that your deleted item was deleted from trash as well. So he actually took her phone and looked at it. So again, and he threatened security on her if she did not delete it. So we're complying. We're being respectful. We're complying, and we're following the letter of the law to a T. We speak English. It's our first language. We're educated. We're gainfully employed. What about those people who don't speak English? What about those people who don't have the skills to reach out or to find where they can get help? What about them?
No, I agree with you, Christina. But I mean, when it comes to you and your brother and your daughter, I can only imagine the rage you're feeling. I'm assuming, I've never met you before, but I'm assuming you're a law-abiding, tax-paying Canadian citizen. And to me, the way you were treated, you couldn't get away with treating a prisoner in an incarceration facility that way. There'd be a complaint, and the guards would be in trouble. I mean, this must have been such a shocking rude awakening. And the second thing is, Christina, as we mentioned off the top, you're at home in Bowmanville quarantining. Why couldn't you do that from the first day? I mean, that seems way more safe than being in a crowded hotel, as you described when that flight came in. Is this all about the Justin Trudeau Liberals, trying to give optics that we're doing something to contain the virus by having these travelers running around all over the world, by, putting them in a quarantine hotel? Is that really what this is about, street theater?
This is all about the optics. This is about showing the rest of Canadians that we are punishing those who are choosing to travel. Well, we didn't have a choice. In this case, there's been no compassion. There has been no allowance for any of our stories to be told. It's basically, here, we're going to punish you. We're going to allow hotels to gouge and to defraud you of your hard-earned money when we didn't have to. I didn't have to go. If you look at the points of contact that I had, that we had, going to these hotels that are supposed to be to keep any kind of contact away from, in case you are, COVID, you have COVID or whatever, that all went down the line. We should have come straight home, quarantine at home. There would have been absolutely no contact aside from, our person who is living with us, who's keeping in quarantine with us. But in the meanwhile, we were with a taxi driver, we were with people in the waiting room, we were in a lobby, we were with numerous people. So as you can see, it's failed. It's a poor plan. It was poorly implemented. It was not well thought out of. And who's paying for all this? The hardworking, law-abiding citizens. That's who's paying for it. And what about those who don't have a voice, who don't know how to speak? How about those?
No, it's terrible, Christina, and it sounds like a fiasco from beginning to end. I don't know why. The government's had a year to plan this, going back to the beginnings of this virus of last year. And do you find it perversely amusing that if we just go back a couple of months ago to the Christmas time break, we had MPs, MPPs, MLAs, the ones who were warning, wagging their fingers at us, don't travel, and they were all buggering off to Hawaii or St. Bart's, including our former finance minister, Rod Phillips, running videos pretending he was still in Ontario. No quarantine hotel for them, but for the likes of you and everybody else, a different standard, eh?
Yes, absolutely. It's wrong on so many levels. I can't tell you how disappointed and how ashamed and embarrassed I am that this government has put us through this.
Well, Christina, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. It seems to be part of a chorus of stories of people complaining about the same thing. Thank God you didn't go through any kind of assault, sexual or otherwise, because those are some of the other darker stories of this hotel fiasco program that are emerging. And I can tell you later on, my cameramen and I are going to go out to the Crowne Plaza Hotel. We're going to see if we can get some answers. And I can tell you this, my friend, they better not ask us to delete the footage. They're not going to like the answer. Christina, my condolences on the loss of your father. And I want to thank you for making time to talk to us, and good luck in the remaining days of your quarantine.
Thank you for taking our story. Please share it. I want everybody to know what is actually happening.
You got it. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Folks, have you been given one of those $880 Wuhan virus protocol tickets? Well, if so, please reach out to us at fightthefines.com. That's fightthefines.com. Tell us your story, and if we think it has merit, we will get you in touch with a top-notch criminal lawyer and crowdfund your legal fees.